We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Hey, payday. You want payday. I know that. Mayweather Promotions CEO Leonard Ellerbe says he expects Caleb Plant to plant a victory and beat Canelo Alvarez this week. Oh, we gotta talk about it. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Listen, I don't know how you found my video, but somehow, some way you made it. Please help others find the content by smashing the like button. It's a free gesture. It takes a few seconds, and it goes a tremendous way to help others find the content. This could be the content that they're looking for as well. Reach one, teach one. Let go. Now, Mayweather Promotions CEO says, quote, "Of course he can." When he was asked about Caleb Plant chances versus Canelo Alvarez, he says, of course he can win. I'm expecting him to win the fight. I'm expecting Caleb Plant to win the fight. He's a tremendous fighter, and he's not had this kind of opportunity before, but I'm very confident he'll rise to the occasion. That's all a fighter needs sometimes, is a platform and an opportunity. Canelo is a tremendous fighter. He's one of the top fighters out there right now. People think he's just gonna walk through Caleb Plant, and I don't know about that, right? Boxing don't work like that. Rounds are scored round by round. I seen this guy Canelo get outboxed in rounds. What makes you think Caleb Plant doesn't have the ability to do that when I know what he's capable of doing? Talk to him. He says Canelo's a good fighter, but he can be beaten. We've already seen that. Floyd Mayweather made him look like he'd never boxed before, but that's Floyd Mayweather. I'm not comparing Caleb Plant to Floyd Mayweather. What I'm saying is I've seen Canelo fights, and I've seen him lose rounds against Billy Joe Saunders, seen him lose rounds against Sergey Kovalev, just to name those two. So why does it make me think that Caleb Plant can't win rounds? I didn't say he was going to stop the guy Canelo, but who knows what happens in boxing. This guy isn't invincible. He's a fighter. He's a very good fighter, but I do think Caleb Plant is going to beat him. Yes, he's going to beat him, end quote. Man, talk to him. Let's get it. Now, I'm not sure who I'm picking for this particular fight. I haven't really thought it through. You know, I've been busy and stuff like that. But I do think both guys have a chance to win that. So, you know, I am of the thinking that either guy has a chance to win, unlike many people. Many people are saying that, oh, Caleb Plant, he's never fought anyone like Canelo and he's going to get dusted off. Easy work. That may be the case, but as well, Canelo could lose this particular fight. And I'm going to explain why. And I've always thought stylistically, styles make fights, you know, everybody says that. But what happens in boxing oftentimes is this. You have fighters who develop this almost folklore in terms of their fan base, to the point of the fan base can become so toxic and radical to the point where it's not even boxing. It's not even about boxing anymore. And I think Canelo has one of those type of rabid fan bases where he's become this urban legend and folklore where people aren't even realistic, like Candyman or something. Like you just say his name 5 times and Canelo, payday, I know that, you know, like he's invincible. Like he's Mario Brothers. Remember Mario Brothers 3 when you get that star? Do 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 boom 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 boom, and then Mario Brother can just run through anything, and he's invincible while he has that star illuminating over his body. That's how people act like Canelo. But my thing is this: the reason why that logic doesn't make sense and why Leonard Ellerbe is cooking and making a lot of sense to me is because, like he said, we've seen Canelo lose rounds. My thing is this: DAZN, in my opinion, and I've said this for a minute, I don't really believe in their leadership in terms of making pro-boxing choices that benefited boxing and boxing fans. For example, just look at the decisions DAZN has made. They paid this like exorbitant amount of money to Canelo Alvarez, and what did they really get in return? So you built up Canelo payday, I was born ready. You built him up and gave him all these underling fights to get and carry all these straps on your platform, and then the grandiose grand finale is happening on someone else's platform. So to me, that's a huge L that DAZN has to hold, because the Callum Smith fight, Callum Smith is not a big deal in America. He's not a known commodity in America. And the WBC, aka We Back Canelo, they threw in the additional belt after David Benavidez lost his title on the scale. Instead of making Callum Smith and David Benavidez fight, right? They could have just fought, like you could have had Canelo and David Benavidez, or Callum Smith and David Benavidez. We know the WBC, again, We Back Canelo, they were going to give the opportunity to Canelo no matter what, even though his only performance at that time at 168 was a Rocky Fielding fight. But somehow a two-time champion, David Benavidez, doesn't get another crack at his belt when he lost it in the pandemic. And it seems like the WBC would be sympathetic to the fact that, yeah, he lost his belt the first time with cocaine. That's something, inexcusable. But in the pandemic, this is something that happens once every half century or whatever. It's never even happened in my lifetime to this. We've had H1N1s and, SARS and mad cow meat and stuff like that, but we've never had something quite the same as the Rona pandemic, where people have to wear masks and, anti-vaxxers and all this stuff. We haven't had that happen. But nonetheless, they gave the opportunity to Canelo and allowed him to cook David Benavidez's, or to fight for David Benavidez's belt and beat up on Callum Smith. So these are the fights that DAZN aired on their platform. Callum Smith, Yildirim fight that nobody wanted, some mandatory, and then Billy Joe Saunders. And it had all the glamour and glitz and stuff, and they said it was like broke Ali's record and all this stuff, but the reality is it didn't generate the type of money that you would expect from all those people. Canelo had, this is a true fact. Canelo Alvarez had almost 70,000 people in Texas for the Saunders fight, and they made it look, he had this dope ring walk and everything, and they tried to make it look like Canelo Alvarez was this huge big deal. This is Eddie Hearn's, Eddie Hearn is the Loki of boxing, the master of mischief. So 70,000 people, fireworks, pyrotechnics, all this stuff, crazy ring walk with the orchestra and, band and all this stuff. And it generated less money financially at the live gate than Canelo versus Kovalev, which happened on the same platform. So what does that tell you? That shows you that there's certain things that are revered for Canelo, and he's not necessarily generating those type of numbers. But I don't want to get too far off track. The point I'm making is I think DAZN has caught the big L by allowing Canelo to escape and be on another platform. And now the fight for Undisputed and all the marbles is happening on Showtime. So shout out to CBS, Al Heyman, Premier Boxing Champs, PBC, and Steven Espinoza. But as far as Canelo, I had to give you guys the chronological order to let you know where we're at now. If you look at it, the reason why I'm breaking down DAZN's judgment calls and executive decisions is they put Canelo in a lot of fights that he wasn't going to lose. Guys with half camps, short camps, quick turnarounds, and then they paid him this crazy amount of money, and they did it with reckless abandon. So it was only really benefiting Canelo, his team, and his family. For example, Callum Smith, it looked like the part. Callum Smith looks like this skyscraper next to Canelo Alvarez, but word on the street is, and according to sources, it says that Callum Smith only had 4 weeks to train for the fight. So again, Canelo has been able to develop this type of larger than life persona. But if you really know boxing, and this is the thing, when you got a guy who's popular like Canelo Alvarez, you got radical fans who don't even watch boxing year round, and then they come out of the woodwork with this pom-pom and cheerleading And there is no intelligent breakdown. Like, I watch boxing, whether it's a big star or if it's someone on the way up like Jaron Boots Ennis, etc. A lot of these Canelo fans that I've seen, they don't watch boxing hardcore. You know, at least you can tell by the comments that they're leaving. So the thing is, Canelo isn't invincible. And I don't understand why people act like Canelo has this force field. Anytime Canelo, just answer these questions that I'm about to ask. Name a person that Canelo fought that you thought was in prime and there was no quick turnaround, no rehydration clause, no weight clause or stipulations, and you thought the person had a full camp, the person was an in prime fighter, youthful, you know, their best attributes, they were living their best life. Name the person. And I can't really do that. And this is not to make excuses or take away from Canelo his ability. He is a great fighter, but this is the reality of Canelo and his matchmaking. This is abundantly clear, and I could break it down in future videos one by one. We can go through from everybody from Jose Cito Lopez. He had never fought at 154 against any big names, but that's who Canelo fought, right? Amir Khan, same deal. He hadn't fought at 155. Angulo, I think, was coming off a loss, and Canelo was coming off a loss. And then you look at the fights where there was no politics, no clever matchmaking. Guys like Erislandy Lara, Triple G, Danny Jacobs, guys that had full camps, no like rehydration. Danny Jacobs had a rehydration clause, but he broke it. He chose not to do the same day weigh-in and pay a fee, I believe. So you look at those fights, and then you look at the outcomes of there wasn't really crazy separation shown. The times we've seen the craziest separation from Canelo Alvarez was when it was a lot of politics and quick turnarounds and rehydration clauses, or guys that he shouldn't have been fighting to begin with, like Amir Khan, a guy who had trouble taking shots from 140 pounders and 147 pounders, and he moved all the way up to 155. That was just, you know, it's a no-brainer. So Caleb Plant is absolutely a live dog because he doesn't have all these handicaps. He's in prime. He's fast-handed, fast-footed, ring IQ. He looks confident. He's not backing down and curring and tucking his tail when he sees Canelo. He gave Canelo a piece of his mind at the press conference. They had the little melee and the cut and slap boxing stuff. And I think this is a great fight. Now, if Canelo does everything that the Canelo fans are saying, and he beats him one-sided and destroys him and all that stuff, then he'll get a lot of credit from me because I'm a real boxing fan. So I don't think it plays out like that. I think by the end of the night, win, lose, or draw, Caleb Plant will have a lot of respect from the boxing world. Just like, you know, Deontay Wilder went out on his shield with Tyson Fury, and you can attempt to mock him and say, oh, haha, you lost, but you would look stupid because Wilder went out the Warrior way, you know what I mean? And I think it'll be much of the same from Caleb Plant. Even if he loses, even if it's a draw, I think by the fight in, people will respect Caleb Plant's gangster and respect his fight game, you know, if they didn't give him a chance. Again, a lot of people have allowed Canelo's name to surpass what we've actually seen. Leonard Ellerbe just told you, we've seen Canelo lose rounds. He was losing the Kovalev fight. He was losing the Amir Khan fight, if we're being perfectly honest. Just Amir Khan can't take a shot from a bigger dude, especially. But the first 4 rounds, Amir Khan was winning. I thought Kovalev should have been up on the scorecards. But we'll see. It's fight week. Let's go. If you like what I'm doing, subscribe. I'm out.